Today, we are diving into the UK's Online Safety Act, or as I like to call it, the Digital Iron Curtain, because this legislation is so poorly written, so technically ignorant, and so unenforceable, it's not just bad law, it's becoming a global business liability. But before I get too carried away, don't forget to like and subscribe and follow me on all my other socials. Now, let's get into it. On paper, the Online Safety Act sounds noble. Protect children, remove illegal content, hold big tech accountable. But in practice, it's like handing a lawmaker a scalpel and asking them to defuse a nuclear warhead. They simply don't understand what they are regulating because, let's be honest, I am so tired of out-of-touch boomers and septuagenarians writing laws about technology they don't even use. They still think the internet is a series of tubes, like that one American senator famously said. These are the same people who call IT when their monitor doesn't turn on. And now they're regulating encryption and content online. Give me a break! This act gives Ofcom, yes, the UK's telecom regulator, massive powers to demand platforms scan private messages for harmful content. This includes things like CSAM, terrorism, and hate speech. But how they want it done: client-side scanning, mandatory surveillance, and vague demands that'll cripple encryption. Here's the problem. You can't protect privacy and also break encryption at the same time. It's one or the other. The UK is essentially saying, hey, WhatsApp, Signal, Apple, iMessage, can you keep end-to-end encryption but also let us peek inside when we want? This isn't just stupid. It's dangerous. Encryption is math, not magic. You either have a backdoor or you don't. And if you put a backdoor in just for us, it's now vulnerable to everyone. Foreign adversaries, hackers, rogue employees, even the FBI. Yes, the FBI had to admit that breaking encryption would make everyone less safe. A backdoor for one is a backdoor for all. But sure, let's trust a bunch of career politicians who barely understand email to dictate the future of secure communications. This is why we end up with laws that sound like they were written by someone's confused uncle who still prints out memes. You know what I'm talking about. Let's say you're a company like Signal or Proton. You don't store messages. You don't have the encryption keys. The UK tells you to scan messages. What do? The only way to comply is to completely redesign your architecture and violate your users' privacy everywhere else in the world. So what do these companies say? Easy. No, we'll leave. Proton Mail may stop serving UK users, according to Andy Yen of Proton. Signal will not comply, according to Meredith Whitaker. You think they're bluffing? Signal left China. Meta pulled news from Canada. Tech companies will walk if forced to undermine their core principles, or harm their wallets, which are probably the bigger reason, to be honest. Here's the kicker. Laws like this don't just hurt privacy. They hurt business. No company wants to deal with a country that mandates spyware and threatens jail time for executives if content isn't removed fast enough. Yes, that's actually part of the law. Execs can face criminal charges, which I'm not opposed to that concept, but this is just the wrong example of how to go about doing this. This law affects everyone, from Mastodon admins to Discord mods to open source developers. You could just be hosting a repo and suddenly you're liable for user-generated content. The result? Developers geo-block UK traffic. Open source projects slap on warnings. Even Microsoft is pushing back. Let's not forget the harmful but legal clause around content. That's right. Content that isn't illegal might still get removed. Editing chief here. So apparently the harmful but legal clause was in a much earlier version that I remember, and it's since been removed apparently. But nonetheless, the fact that politicians actually thought that was even worthwhile to even attempt is scary enough as it is. Anyway, back to the video. That's a direct hit to free expression. It incentivizes over-censorship. Platforms will just remove anything remotely controversial to avoid fines or criminal charges. Example, LGBTQ+ content, political dissent, whistleblower reports, all at risk. This isn't safety, it's sanitized speech. You don't protect people by building a digital surveillance state. And now, we get to the point where it starts to feel dystopian, because one of the next potential victims, Wikipedia. Yeah, the Wikimedia Foundation is fighting back hard against being forced into a Category 1 service under the UK's new rules, which would force them to add age verification, content moderation, and identity checks to what is literally a community-run encyclopedia. And rather than comply, they've said they may need to throttle or even block access for UK users to avoid being pulled into a bureaucratic nightmare. They've already filed for judicial review, but the fact that something as basic and universally relied on as Wikipedia is now at risk in the UK should tell you just how absurd this law is. And what are UK residents doing in response? Signing up for VPNs in record numbers. Now, I've had content before talking about how VPNs are not a magic bullet and everything like that. But Proton VPN alone saw a spike of over 1,000% in new subscription when this act passed. That's not a coincidence. That's people trying to claw back their privacy and their access to basic tools like Wikipedia. Which brings me to today's sponsor, and it's very on brand, Proton. I've been using Proton for a while now, not just for Proton VPN, which is really great when I was in Portugal and I wanted to watch my Hulu and everything, but the entire suite, Proton Mail, Proton Pass, and Proton Drive. All of it is built around privacy-first design. No ads, no data harvesting, and no backdoors. And unlike some companies, they've been consistently standing up to authoritarian overreach, including this nonsense from the UK. So if you're looking for a trusted VPN, secure email, encrypted cloud storage, or a password manager with alias support built in thanks to simple login, I love that feature. Every account of mine has a different, unique email address. Proton's got you covered. And if you want to support this channel, you can do it by protecting your privacy too. Just head to my links in the description below. And just when you thought this couldn't get more dystopian, there's this, according to Birmingham Mail, the UK government was considering banning VPNs entirely. You heard me. They've since walked that back, kind of. But now they're warning that UK households could be responsible if someone under 18 uses a VPN to bypass government filters. So, no, they're not banning VPNs. Yet. They're just guilt-tripping parents into compliance. Your kid got around our broken filter. That's your fault now! This is the same logic we used to criticize China, Iran, and Russia for. And now the UK is out here doing it with a posh accent. And honestly, are we that even surprised? Probably wasn't a great English accent, I know. This is the same country that still requires a TV license to legally watch live television. You need a license to watch BBC One. Like, what year is it? Say what you will about the US, but there are some freedoms here I genuinely enjoy, and access to radio waves is one of them. Yes, I need a license for ham radio and GMRS, and I do hold both, but I actually understand the reason. That's regulated spectrum. That's interference risk, emergency response, international coordination. It makes sense, but where the UK is heading? I wouldn't be surprised if they tried slapping a license on accessing online content next. Want to visit Wikipedia? Please input your national VPN registry ID. Failure to comply may result in household fines and loss of browsing privileges. The UK is becoming less free, and doing it under the banner of protecting the children. Hold on. Where's my Guy Fawkes mask? There it is. Here we go. Now I'm ready to protect civil liberties, or just appear in a B-roll clip labeled Cyber Protester. And yes, I pronounce it like it's French, Guy Fawkes, because let's be real, when's the last time you met someone actually named Guy? Because most of the ones I met are French or Belgian. And before you go around, where's Anonymous and are they going to save me? I have a whole other video talking about how Anonymous is not really going to come around to save you, and they're just a whole other movement of things that people got misconstrued that if you're not in the hacker culture. But anyway, that's another diatribe for another day. And honestly, I wish this was the only video I had to make about governments doing boneheaded stuff with tech right now. But it's not. I'm also working on a full video about Ireland's anti-encryption law, which might be released by the time you're watching this. If it is, I'll have a card above right now. It's just as bad, maybe worse. Then there's Collective Shout, the Australian morality police trying to dictate what games you're allowed to play on Steam and lobbying global platforms to pull adult content based on their own values. And don't forget the US version, the Kids Online Safety Act, or KOSA. I am so done with politicians dragging kids into every conversation about censorship. They always say, it's to protect the children, when really, it's just a political ploy to push authoritarian control online. Because here's the truth. It's a parent's job to regulate what their kids see online, not the government's job to censor the entire internet. If you learned something today, Hit like, subscribe, and follow me on all of my other socials. Share this video with a friend in the UK, or maybe even your MP, and remind them that you can't legislate your way out of not understanding the internet. Encryption is not the enemy. Ignorance is. Happy hacking, everyone.